In Mortal Kombat X, the game is built around selecting variations, 3 different ways to experience a character, with each variation granting new moves or strings. Speaking the obvious immediately out of the way, this video explores Variationless, which allows the player to select a character with 0 variations at all, playing the character with their absolute base moveset. Variationless is, for the most part, simply an inferior way to experience basically every character in MKX. But there are some exceptions in this case, where sometimes Variationless actually grants the player a new way of experiencing a character. This video dives into how to select Variationless, how it works, and checks out some cases of Variationless giving the player a new experience. Let's get this one out of the way first. To select Variationless, simply select your character as normal. On the Variation Select screen, press up twice and then your 2 button, which is triangle or Y, depending on console. It's as simple as that. On top of your character having their base moves now, they will visually sport their default visuals. Funnily enough, this is the only way that some characters can be seen as they are originally designed. Kung Lao with his regular hat and clothing, for instance, or Tremor with his normal arms and normal chest, complete with the original mask, which Aftershock usually removes. Simply put, Variationless will take anything that could be a variation move and removes it. This applies to both strings and specials, and usually can be somewhat of a giveaway as to what moves remain, judging by what attacks are universal to a character regardless of variation. Let's look at some examples here, already understanding that normals and strings remain as usual. Sub-Zero's only special moves in Variationless are Ice Ball, Slide, and Shatter. Variationless Scorpion has Teleport, Takedown, and Spear. Once again, it's extremely basic. Whilst some of these are relatively uninteresting like this, some characters actually keep a fair few of their specials, making the Variationless option still pretty okay in all honesty, especially if you were to play against other Variationless characters for fun or something. Tremor keeps a bucket load of his specials: the Rock Toss, Ground Pound, Rolling Cutter, Stone Fist, Rock Blast. He basically has everything he usually does. It's the variation system that changes their properties. Bo Raicho keeps a load of his specials as well: Fart, Bump and Dump, Monkey Flips, Ground Stomp, and the Fist Flurry, all in Variationless. Funnily enough, he's still a mix machine, even without any variety to choose from. Now, with knowledge of Variationless, it mechanically can cause us to see actual variations in a different light, understanding that all variations are extra moves added to a standard moveset. What I mean by this is, Leatherface without variations is a pretty straight up standard character. Okay range, all of his buttons are still there, and his specials are just the chainsaw specials. Now look at Killer, and what Killer is Variationless Leatherface, but with Killer Stance. And Killer Stance alone is an extended arm to what Leatherface could already do, and expands on that because of the combo and pressure possibilities, making Leatherface an all-round stronger character because of it. Now I know Jax isn't a great character in the final patch, but Wrestler Jax is arguably his strongest variation in this version. But why? Because of his command grab, giving extra mix-up and acting as wonderful armor. But look at it in the context of this video. All Wrestler is Variationless Jax, but with a command grab. But it's enough to give Jax some body that he definitely needed. But let's go on the opposite end, and look at Master of Storm's Raiden. It's basically Variationless Raiden, but with the orbs added. But because the orbs do not cover Raiden's Variationless weaknesses at all, this variation in turn is just not very good. I don't mean to keep picking on this variation, by the way. I know this is the second Science of MKX video it's featured in. I actually find it really fun to play despite its shortcomings. It's a shining beacon of complete mediocrity. The last thing I want to discuss in this video is that I teased in the intro that some Variationless options will in fact offer a new gameplay experience. You'll see what I mean right now as I go into a few examples. These are some variations that are unique, simply on the basis of the characters that have new moves every time you pick a variation, with no universal moves to exist in the first place. Now these aren't super tournament viable, and by no means are they top tier. they're just simply new ways to experience a character for better or worse, and worth trying out if you main any of these characters just for a little bit of fun. I guess you could call Variationless Kenshi a brawler variation of sorts. He has no full screen game, but he keeps the parry and is given the uppercut sword and overhead sword specials from Kenjutsu. The reason this is new is because Kenjutsu gets new buttons and strings off of his standing 3, opening up some unique options, and his forward 2 is replaced by an overhead slash. This is what makes Kenjutsu unique up close. With Variationless Kenshi, he actually gets the forward 2-1-1 and 3-2-2-3/4 strings that Kenjutsu doesn't get, which gives you some unique possibilities. It's not much, but it's essentially a slightly different approach to some already familiar special moves and strings, only mix and match to have variationless strings but Kenjutsu special moves. Liu Kang is second on the list. Although utterly unchanged for the most part, the difference here is that Variationless Liu Kang has Flame Fist fireballs, but keeps the regular bicycle kick. You may have seen Ninja Killer, the Liu Kang expert, mess around with Variationless as of late on stream, and it is interesting to see. Liu Kang is a great character anyway, so Flame Fist fireballs and a regular bicycle kick is a pretty neat combination. Obviously, the elephant in the room here is Cyber Sub-Zero, which actually isn't who I want to talk about. Cyber Sub-Zero is, by all accounts, a new or fourth Triborg variation. It's simply selected by going Variationless. I said it wasn't Variationless Triborg, and that job belongs to a hidden away 5th variation, only selectable by more illegitimate means. Using the same workarounds that we learned to swap variations onto other characters via a PC mod, we actually discovered in doing this that Triborg does indeed have a variationless version. It sports Cyber Sub-Zero's color scheme and wears all 3 faces of the other Borgs. That's pretty metal. Move-wise, it has no specials, as you might expect, but aside from traditional Triborg strings and normals such as 1-1-1-2, forward 4-3, forward 3, 2-1-3, you know what these are by now, and that's not what we're focusing on. Here are Variationless Triborg's unique buttons. Smoke's back 2, but with 0 follow-up, just the normal standalone. Cyber Sub-Zero's neutral jump punch, that's pretty cool. And finally, Sector's back 1 2+4, but without any ability to meter burn for a follow-up. It's actually a very, very simple set of buttons, and was obviously never intended to be seen or selected, as you can clearly tell. But it's cool to finally see these moves exist, even if Variationless Triborg kinda sucks. By no means is Variationless very good, but it's been a fun experience going through the cast and looking over certain options. Labbing this game was always a treat because of just how much MKX has to offer, so hopefully this video has somewhat opened your eyes to what Variationless is and what the science behind it can truly be. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.